Pokemon trading card game Pocket is changing fast, and that's only going to continue in 2025. So in today's video, I'm going to give you the top 10 best tips for Pokemon TCG Pocket in 2025 so you don't miss anything. And if you find this video helpful in any way, please consider hitting that subscribe button. We're really pushing to 10K subscribers, and we'd love to have you as part of the team. And make sure to stick around to the end of the video because I'm saving the best tips for last. Now, my first tip in preparing for 2025 is to not use Flare. Yes, you heard me right. At least for rare cards, don't use Flare. If you're doing it for a common card like Oddish, that's probably fine. But for any of your rare or more powerful cards, I would not recommend using Flare to make the cards look cooler. And the big reason is trading is coming soon. It is highly likely that trading will drop in 2025. And so what does that have to do with Flare? When trading drops, any excess rare cards, whether it be EX cards like Gengar EX, or just a useful card like Gardevoir that's really important in a lot of meta decks, is going to become far more valuable. Mythical Island has already dropped, and because of that, far less people are spending time opening up their Genetics Apex packs, which means any of your rare cards from Genetic Apex are far more valuable. That's because if anybody doesn't have a Gengar EX right now, Pikachu EX, or any other rare card from Genetic Apex, it's likely that they will not obtain it, because Mythical Island is already out and the next set is probably going to drop before many people have obtained all the cards of Mythical Island. The developers need to keep sending out more cards because those who are not free-to-play players who are paying for the game are going to unlock all the cards quickly, and the developers don't want them to run out of cards to pay for or they'll stop making money. So we can assume that similarly to Genetic Apex, the next booster pack will probably come out before most people have gotten all of the cards in Mythical Island. So I recommend you save any excess rare cards because when trading comes out, you can use these to trade for any cards from Genetic Apex that you don't have. But if you go ahead and instead use these rare cards to obtain Flare, that will use up your rare cards and you will no longer be able to use those to trade. And then when trading comes around, you won't have anything valuable to trade for the rare cards that you need. And so I would definitely do not use Flare on any rare cards until trading comes out and we have more information. And once you've traded for all the cards you want, then yeah, feel free to go ahead and get Flare for some of your rare cards. But if it's a common card that nobody's probably going to be trading for, everyone already has, then yeah, feel free to go ahead and obtain Flare. Tip number 2 for 2025 is to make sure you go ahead and finish all of your solo battles. There are a ton of these for Genetic Apex as well as Mythical Island, and each of them give you tons of shop tickets if you complete all the challenges. If you haven't completed some of the battles in general, make sure you complete them because you will get free hourglasses for completing them for the first time. But as we go into 2025, I would make sure you clear out all of these challenges completely to max out on all the rewards so that your shop tickets are full. That way, as the shop refreshes each month, you'll be able to max out on your hourglasses, and you can save these up for when new sets like Mythical Island drop, and you can get the new cards as quickly as possible, and when trading comes out, you'll be able to use those to trade for some other cards you don't have yet. Now, tip 3 is for late 2025, but it's important to keep in mind. The developers have suggested that at some point Genetic Apex is going to leave. Now, we can tell here that we'll probably have at least 2 more packs come out with the space that we have here below Genetic Apex and Mythical Island before Genetic Apex leaves. But it is going to leave eventually. So tip number 3 is to prioritize getting cards you need from Genetic Apex first, because Genetic Apex will be the first to leave, followed by Mythical Island, followed by whatever pack is next, and so on and so forth. So if there are any important cards you don't have from Genetic Apex yet, whether it be Mewtwo or Charizard or Weezing or Koga, I would make sure you get those first because this will be the first set to leave, and you don't want it to leave without you being able to obtain any of the important cards. And tip number 4 is to use your pack points for this. If you're like me, you've been saving your pack points and haven't wanted to use them. Since Mythical Island has come out, I've had to break down and use some of my pack points on Genetic Apex. Like I said earlier, the developers, I think, are going to bring out packs faster than we can get all of the cards inside of them, unless you're paying to play. And as we've seen with cards like Celebi, the cards in the new packs are probably going to completely change the meta and be more powerful than a lot of the old ones. So when new packs come out, it's in our best interest to actually get the cards in the new pack, and we don't want to waste time or hourglasses getting the old cards that just aren't as useful anymore. So if there's a important card you don't have, I think it's okay to go ahead and spend some pack hourglasses on it. Don't do the expensive full art version of the card unless you really want it. But for example, I've been trying to get Weezing forever, and I've only ever been able to pull one, but you really need him in so many top meta decks. And so when Mythical Island came out, I finally bit the bullet and just used pack points to buy my second Weezing, because I want to focus on opening Mythical Island decks, but I do know that I really need Wheezing if I want to make all of the meta decks. Now, before my next tip, if any of these have been helpful, please hit that subscribe button. Like I said, we're really pushing to 10K subscribers, and we'd love to have you as part of the team. Now, my next tip is if you are a free-to-play player, you absolutely have to max out on all of the events. So when these emblem events drop or any other event, you need to max out and complete it because you will get free pack hourglasses. And this is the only way you're going to be able to keep up with other players who are spending money on the game. So I repeat, if you are a free-to-play player and you want to compete, you have to max out on every single event. And that is going to be your best way to keep up and not fall behind. Tip number 6 is to not forget about the old cards when the new cards come out. With Mythical Island dropping, everyone's hopping on the new bandwagon and only using new cards, but some of the best decks in the game are actually coming from combining new and old cards. For example, this deck is a great counter to Celebi, and it uses the old Wheezing rather than the new one, as well as Koga, but it combines them with the new Coughing, with a Division, which helps you pull more cards out of the deck, and the Scolipede line, which is far better than the Muck line, but essentially does the same thing. Although Koga doesn't work on it, but that's not super necessary for the way this deck works. And so I would just make sure you don't forget about the old cards, and as new cards come out, think about how you can combine them with the old cards to make the best deck possible. My next tip has to do with every time new cards come out. As soon as a new card comes out, I would recommend making a binder for it. So for example, this could be my Mythical Island binder, and every time you get a new rare card, you should add it to the binder because players are going to be looking around in community wanting to see these new cards. And so if you have binders full of the new cards and you make them public, and you can name it something like Mythical Island and then save it, people are going to be going around and they'll see your binder, they'll like the new cards, and so they'll like this binder, and that's an easy way to get free shop tickets. So I would do this every time new cards come out, and make sure you always have a max of your 15 binders, because that will increase your chance of getting more likes. And if you max out on friends as well, have a full 99, you have more people who can do that. Tip number 8 is to never waste your shop tickets buying special shop tickets. These cost 300 shop tickets, which equals an insane number of pack hourglasses if you use them on pack hourglasses instead. And special shop tickets can only be used right now to buy these special card covers, which to me don't really mean anything. Now, if you really want these, then of course, go ahead. It's a game. You can do whatever you want. But if you're trying to be the most efficient and you're a free-to-play player, I would not waste your shop tickets on the special top shop tickets in 2025 or ever. Rather, I would use them on hourglasses. And if you want to spend extra, then use them on the Wonder Hourglasses, because these are going to help you get more cards. Tip number 9 is to experiment with new decks and new cards frequently. Don't get stuck in the trap of finding a really powerful meta deck like Celebi EX and only ever using this deck and never using anything else. One, if you just keep using the same deck, it's going to get bored. It's also annoying to other players. But for me, I find the game is way more fun when you experiment and try out new things. Some of the most fun I've had with this game is when I've tried out random deck ideas that I haven't even seen online but came up with myself, like this Starmie Wigglytuff combo that I had a ton of fun making. You can also come up with some really powerful decks that can counter the meta if you come up with it yourself and experiment rather than just copying everything that's online. And if you need deck ideas, you can feel free to check out my channel. I have a whole playlist about it and I live stream them every week. But in 2025, I'd focus on experimenting with new decks. It's going to make the game a lot more fun and help you to not get bored as the game progresses. Because Pokemon TCG Pocket really is a great game, but if you just use the same deck over and over again, you might get bored of it and stop playing and miss out on a ton of fun. Now, tip number 10 is to make sure in 2025 you max out on using Wonder Pick the right way. Wonder Pick is a great way for you to get some free rare cards that you maybe wouldn't be able to pull otherwise. I've gotten 2 of my coolest cards, this Celebi EX and this awesome Full Art Zapdos EX from Wonder Pick. And so if you want to know how to get rare cards from Wonder Pick, make sure you check out this video right here where I explain all of the best strategies to get the best cards from Wonder Pick.